I'm a work in progress. I live my life like I'm a work in progress. And as long as I do that, I am open to the feedback that says, hey, you just missed something, right? But if I think I've landed, if I think my plane has landed and unboarded and now I'm off on vacation, then I don't hear those things. I don't see those things. And when they come to me, I make it about the source rather than myself.
What up? What up? What up? Listen, we are here again with another edition of a Father's Heart podcast, man. Hey, listen, we are a little late, but we are here. Listen, a little technical difficulties. Had to use my studio, Studio B or now this is probably Studio Z. You know what this is compared
No,
to.
I'm in Studio Z.
Yeah. Hey, but we are going to still rock out. George, what's good with you, man?
Not much, man. I'm just sharing this to make sure I get it on my feed as well. That's it.
Hey,
We ready to roll.
I hear you, man. Scott, we listen. What's good with you over there in that great state of Minnesota?
All the rain that you're having over there, it's gone, man. That's visiting you rather than us. So we had nice. Yeah, this is like first day I've not had a jacket on. So
Well, well,
We
good
had
for you.
beautiful day. We had beautiful days up until today. Today was horrible. I was able to actually go to a couple of my trails earlier in the week, give me some spiritual enlightenment, some solitude, some serenity, and some peace. I woke up this morning, got fully dressed, went outside, and got my heart broken. So I had to go to Planet Fitness instead.
Yeah, actually, when I get off of this, that's where I'm going. I'm going to Planet Fitness. I'm going to work out
I'm
tonight. I haven't worked out in
work.
2 days.
You going tonight? I'll meet
Yeah.
you.
All right, let's
I,
do it. As soon as we get off here, that's where I'm going. I'm
it
going.
can't be soon because I'm in work clothes. But after I got to stop by the crib and
Actually,
take.
we probably got to go to listen. We probably got to go to Flint because they close at 10 o'clock here now.
What are you talking about?
Yes, we talk about that.
Okay,
Yes,
we talk offline.
yes.
Sean, I thought you had the Heartnasium in your basement.
I listen. I do, but sometimes I just want to get out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just want to get out and get around all of the other
yeah.
buffness.
Yeah.
So funny story, Sean. I realized from my profession that I have undiagnosed adult ADHD. So I've been working out at home for months, right? And then I lost motivation. That's because just doing the same thing over and over. And I got a sufficient home gym or whatever, but it's exactly what you said. I just sometimes I have to just switch it up and stuff like that. So when the weather broke and I was able to go and do my walks and everything like that, that helped me. And then so this morning I still didn't want to do it at home, so I just went up to Planet Fitness. So I get exactly what you're saying. Sometimes you just got to switch up that routine a little bit. You got to switch up
That's
the
all.
program.
That's all I wanted to do. That's all I
Yeah.
wanted to do. So listen, man, it's late. We started late tonight, but we wanted to be committed to it. And listen, I ran across a video. No, actually, it wasn't a video. It was just a post,
Yeah.
and I sent it to you guys because it was quite interesting. And I was reading a lot of the comments, and I put it in our group, and I wanted to talk about that tonight, right? And so, listen, don't mind the background; it's a little distracting, but this is the post that I came across, and this young lady. There's so many comments,
Yeah.
but this young lady or what the rap alert, whoever posted it, and it says a woman wants to know how are men so good at hiding all the stressful things in their lives, and so that's what I want to talk about tonight, man. Is like. Um, Not even sure if somebody posted it just to post it, or if a woman really, really, really wanted to know,
Yeah.
like how men are so good at hiding the stress that's in their lives, right? You know, That was really interesting to me, and we actually before we came on, my way of I don't like to have a discussion before we come on live because I don't want to hear what you
Yeah.
have to say. I don't want to be influenced by it. So I'm just really curious to hear from you and Scott, man, as we get this conversation going. It's like, why are men so good at hiding all of the stress in their lives? And George, I'll let you start. Why do you think
Yeah.
men are really good at it?
So I'll talk personally first, and then I'll talk professionally as well. But I'll be very honest with you. Personally, life has taught me to be that way. And when I say life has taught me to be that way, society has taught me to be that way. For a man, being vulnerable, being open, being transparent, and a lot of train of thoughts is seen as a weakness, right? You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I've experienced where I've been vulnerable or transparent and it was used against me and different things of that nature. And typically, you're not going, as a man, you're not going to be vulnerable or open or transparent against somebody that you don't trust or somebody you don't think you can trust. And so when that trust is broken over time and repeatedly and different things like that, you kind of go into a shell and I'm not going to say you learn to figure it out, but you feel like you have to figure it out. And it's just not all the time, or I'll even say most time, beneficial to be open. So that's personal experience. Professionally, I've had men here in the office who have completely, once we built up the rapport and once we built up the relationship, they have completely broke down. They have completely opened up and different things like that. But that was because a safe space was provided where they knew they were not going to be judged, where they knew it was not going to be thrown in their face, where they knew it was not going to be returned to them in a negative manner or different things like that. And so it's learned behavior, you know what I'm saying? And I'm definitely not saying it's healthy behavior, because when you hold all of those things in and you carry all of those things, they do manifest. They're going to come out one way or the other. And typically they come out in poor or unfavorable behavior or whatnot. But for the most part, life teaches us to be this way. Now, you know, and I know from what we do that when provided a safe environment, men do eventually or ultimately open up. But it's a lot of work that has to be done before they get to that point. And typically, that's all of the life scars and battle scars and trauma and different things like that. You know, I'm not gonna say it becomes easy, because she said, why are men so good, as to imply like it's just easy for us to do. I'm not saying that it's easy, but life sometimes or many times teaches us that it's necessary to do. Just be quiet, don't say nothing, figure it out, hold it all in, carry the weight of the world on your shoulder, figure out what you can when you can, and do the best that you can. And it's unfortunate because
Yeah, yeah,
just like women, we have that whole spectrum of emotion. We get anxious, we get worried, we get scared, we get fearful, and different things like that. But when you express that, either, you know what I'm saying, verbally or through behavior, a lot of times you can be ridiculed, made fun of, mocked, or like I said, used against you.
yeah,
So
yeah,
life does it. Life, for the most part, life teaches us to be strong at all times, even though we have dark days, we have low days, we have weak days, we have sad days, just like everybody else. I feel like I'm rambling now, so I'm a
yeah.
wait.
No, man, no, that's good. So Scott, do you think it's easy for men to not, show emotion, or do you think it's easy for men, to just move along in this world without having a care? Like, this lady said, we make it look real easy.
Yeah, well, no. To build on what George is saying, it's not easy, and it comes out in another way, right? So when you carry that stress and you carry that load, and you don't put words to it, you don't have an outlet for it, it's going to come out. And I've heard from so many women doing the work I do over the years say, he's got two emotions. He's laughing or he's angry. There's nothing in
Yep,
between, right?
yep,
And that's one of those outcomes, right? So I remember reading this piece of research one time that they had all these adults come into a room, and all the babies in the room were young enough where you couldn't tell what their gender was. They all had diapers on, and uh, and so uh, and so there's boys and girls in the room, and then they over a speaker they played a baby crying, right? And based on the baby's reactions, they had the adults pick out who the boys and girls were. Consistently, they picked the boys out as being girls because the boys had the strongest reaction emotionally to the baby crying. So from the front end, you know, as infants, men have a deep capacity to feel.
Mm,
Again, to go back to what George was saying, they grow up and life beats it out of them.
Yep.
And there's no venue. So like I'm in first grade. My mom is a stay-at-home mom, and so I've never been away, right? And so she drops me off at school for the first day, and I'm scared. I don't know. I mean, I've just not. This is so out of my experience. I start getting tears in my eyes, and there were some boys as I walked into the school pointing fingers at me and laughing at me, and that's the day I learned you don't cry,
mm.
right? Like, because
Yep.
this is
And you
no
saying
space for that,
you saying first grade, so that's 5, 6 years old, right in there.
right?
So that's very early on, and those are the formative years, right? And so what you
Yep.
learn there is what you carry as you continue to grow and evolve and process. Yeah, yeah.
What you said was really, really deep there, right? So what you said, adding on to what George said, but you said, Scott, that in that study, how those parents or those men responded to those kids. But what was really intriguing is how you said that little boys have a deep propensity, the ability to connect with their feelings, and you said that life beat it out of them, right? Life beats it out of them. And it's really interesting that you say that because my son is very, very compassionate, has these emotions and feelings. And and I'm quite sure, and I haven't asked him about it, but and he's still emotional, right? But I was and still am very intentional about allowing him to feel and to communicate how he feel. And I just wonder after you saying that, if I didn't at home create that, like to fight with the world and those in the world is trying to do, um, to him, I really wonder if he would still have that ability to show that expression because I'm quite sure the boys and kids, not only boys, but other girls, right, will try to beat it out of him. And I just really wonder if he would have that ability to express himself so freely.
No, I can answer that for you. With you being the consistent male figure, the consistent male example, and different things like that, and expressing to him or allowing him and letting him know it's safe. Without that, it would be whoever the next male. That male could be a teacher, it could be an uncle, it could be. So if you with you doing that, that is absolutely what provides the safe space. In other words, just like Scott was saying, we have to start young because society as a whole is not going to do it. We're supposed to be protectors, we're supposed to be providers, we're supposed to be all of these different things, and all of these different things have masculine, I guess you could say, tendencies and different things like that, which, I'm saying, that's a whole nother conversation. But as young as possible is as best as possible. Sean, you wrote a book. You wrote a book, and the title of your book, Broken Boys Become Broken Men. This is a part of it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever they're not shown, whatever they're not exposed to, whatever they're not taught, whatever they're not provided as a child, they grow into adult versions of that. Now, life happens, so experiences and different things like that teaches some of us how to manage or navigate better. But at the core, you can't be weak. You can't be crying. You can't, you know what I'm saying? You can't mess up. You know what I'm saying? And all of these different things. So my answer to that question would be no. If you was not there and not being the consistent in his life and consistently allowing him to be sensitive or to be emotional, there's no way I feel like going to school or he plays sports, going on a sports team, he would be taught that that's safe to do or
But
safe
but
to be.
Well, let's go here. I want to ask you guys personally, like Scott, how at your age now, how comfortable are you with expressing or showing your emotions, or have you grown into
Good
that?
question.
Still, are you still challenged with that? Like, where are you personally with that?
Yeah, I mean it's 61, right? Like I'm getting better. I mean it's just um like I thought of another example. So uh my dad would spank us, but the way he did it is that I was the oldest, I go first, then my next brother, and then my next brother. And when you got spanked, you couldn't cry, and then you had to get in line and watch the next kid,
Mm,
next brother get it. And if you cried, you had to get back in line,
Yep.
right? So there's just no space to feel, right? So now you grow up as an adult and you get into an adult relationship, and then you start blaming your partner for not being the right way to make it safe for you to
mm,
talk when it really isn't even about her. So I've had guys in a room and I've said to them, how many of you have been sitting on the couch, say, watching TV? You got your partner sitting next to you, you got your kids playing in the other room, and you just caught yourself thinking how lucky you are.
Yeah.
And how many of you have said it to your partner? Nobody. Not of 18 guys in the room, not one of them did. I said, so then why not? Because she could use it against me. I said, well, has she? And then they start thinking, it's like, well, no, not really, because I've never done it. But I said, okay, so this is old,
You
right?
don't want to take a
You've
chance.
got an
They don't want
old hurt that you're putting on your adult partner. This isn't her stuff. This is your stuff, right? And if you keep thinking it's her stuff, you don't fix your stuff, right? Because it's you're not owning the source of the problem, which is your history of growing up as a boy. The other thing I think is interesting,
Hold
Shon,
up, no,
about that
no, 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 no.
parent.
You can't go past that. That's important, Scott. What you said was really, really important. Like, I don't want you to go past that. What I heard you said that the individuals in that room was blaming her for their stuff because they didn't express the way they felt. They was blaming it on her that she didn't create a safe space. She didn't make it okay for them to express themselves, but they never did it in the first place.
Yep.
No,
That is
Trauma
good.
no,
trauma triggers are a real thing, right? And whatever happens to us in a negative manner or a traumatic way is there somewhere. Might not be in the forefront, might not be in the conscious, but in the subconscious is there. Meaning, someone who says something or does something that could even remotely remind you, right? Can even remotely remind you of something could trigger a response. That's why a lot of times we respond in different ways, we react in different ways, and then when we go back later and we process and we say, man, I did not have to do all of that, or why did I respond that way, or why I did. And a lot of times it's something that happened when we were 12. It's something that now we're we in front of a totally different person. We're in front of a totally different audience, and we don't want to take the chance. This is the thing I was telling the client the other day, because they were involved in a conflict, and they couldn't figure out why they kept responding a certain way. And so as we begin to talk, we talked about an event that their current relationship reminds them of. And what I said to them, and we all do this, a lot of times when something hurtful or something disappointing or something like that happens, we make a vow to ourselves. And sometimes we do it intentionally, or sometimes we do it unintentionally, subconsciously, and we say to ourselves, I'm never going to feel like that again. Like, I never want to feel like that again, and I'm never going to feel like that again. And so that leads to responses that are completely unnecessary sometimes, or responses that are completely overreactive to the situation at hand. And that's because our fight or flight in our mind is like, I'm not going back there. You know what I'm saying? I don't want no parts of that. I'm not doing that again. Because when you hurt, You don't. Nobody wakes up and says, "I want to be hurt by something today," right? So when it happens, you try to do everything that you possibly can, intentionally, unintentionally, consciously, subconsciously, directly, and indirectly, to never feel that pain, to never feel that letdown, to never feel that disappointment again. And so that's why, and I tell people this all the time, and this is not just romantic relationships, these are platonic relationships. A lot of times we're carrying or bringing stuff in that we never addressed, that we never resolved, and that we never reconcile. And so self-awareness, knowing who you are, going back now, are we going to be able to go back and revisit and reconcile every single thing that happened? No, but some of those major events that happened that completely shifted or that completely readjusted our mindset and our mentality that in a detrimental way, we have to be intentional about going back and dealing with some of those things and unpacking some of those things, reconciling some of those things, so going forward they don't spill over or bleed over into new relationships. It's important to be self-aware. You have to know who you are, the things that bring you up, the things that bring you down, right? Your strengths, your flaws, the things you need to work on. You have to continuously be learning, evolving, and progressing into the best version of yourself, not just for you, but for everyone you're attached to, everyone you impact, and everyone you have influence on. It is important. Interpersonal relationships are important. We need other people. You can't do anything. Well, I'll be safe. You can't do just about anything in this world, on this earth, in your community, in your social space, in your family alone. We need people. And so to do that effectively and efficiently, you absolutely have to work on yourself in order for it to affect your interpersonal relationships in a beneficial and progressive manner. You have to.
So let
You
me ask,
have.
so let me ask Scott, is there any blame for women in this, the way men mask? Is there any blame to put on women?
You should
Well,
ask me. I
here's
was
the
a head chair. Go ahead, Scott. I'm sorry.
well, here's kind of what I'm here's the way I think about this.
Okay.
People are going to do things that hurt our feelings, right? Uh, Women on top, women are going to be part of that crowd, right? Um, but when you so like there's events that hurt us, but we live a lifestyle as men where we don't have the space to put words to feeling. Like we don't have a vocabulary for it because we
Oh,
don't
that's good.
have a space to talk about it. And when you can't put words to feeling, right, then you start covering it up with with what you know, which is I'm angry, I'm irritated, that kind of stuff starts covering up all the complexity that you have. And so now you take a risk, right? And you're a little bit vulnerable, and somebody says something that hurts you, and it's catastrophic, right? Like George is saying we need to be strong, right? Like the only way to get strong is to know who you are, as George was talking about, right? The guy who, as I was, as a young man, I was fragile. Like I didn't have any resilience.
What's up, Father's Heart podcast family? Yeah, we have sponsorships now, and this week's sponsor is none other than Involved Dad. So listen up, fathers. Are you looking for a deeper understanding to understand fatherhood and make a positive impact in your children and families' lives? Look no further than Involved Dad, right? Where we create strong fathers through fatherhood engagement, right? It's extremely important for children to have fathers that are not only showing up, but they are showing out, that they are fully invested, they are fully engaged. So this week's sponsor is an agency, man, that knows the ins and out of fatherhood and know how to strengthen families, know how to fill the gaps and connect families to the right resources so they can live their best lives and become more and more successful. So listen, if you need assistance, if you know someone who need help on fathering, on parenting, co-parenting, or a father that is just struggling, right? That he does not know how and what to do about his next move because this game that we call this life that we live sometimes, man, is like a game of chess, right? Like knowing your next move, and that involved dad, what we do, we help fathers make their next best move. So reach out to us, right? The number is 313-757-1388, and you can find us on the web as well, and that is involveddad.org. No S, because a lot of people put involved dads, although we want involved dads, but it's involveddad.org. So yes, listen, don't be average, you might as well be elite in your parenting and in fatherhood.
So I kept everything locked behind a wall so that nothing could hurt, right? Because I was so fragile. Yet I'm portraying myself as this solid, strong, like individual, but that wasn't at all. What strong is okay. I'm married. Um, this is a long time ago, but I was married and I didn't show much emotion like at all, just like I'm talking about. And then I started doing this work with men, and I start getting in touch with things, and I start getting the vocabulary, and I start taking chances of being vulnerable. Something happens between my partner and I got tears in my eyes, and she laughs at me.
Mm.
And at first, it was like, "What are you doing?" Right? That's so inappropriate.
Yeah.
But when we started talking about it, it's like she said, "I didn't even know what to do with that. Like you're crying, like this is this
It
is
was
so
so out
out
of
of
the
her
norm.
experience,
Yeah.
right?"
Yeah.
And then the other thing was, it wasn't catastrophic to me because I had a way of articulating what was going on with me. She could tell me what was going on with her, and there was a way to work through it, right? And that to me was one of the first times I understood what strength is,
Mm,
right? I'm not going to get crushed because somebody makes a mistake and does something that hurts my feelings. I want to be able to express that in a, in a linear way and put words to it and be confident with it, right? And move to the next thing. That to me is what masculine strength should really be about, is the ability to know who you are and articulate your space and not have the slights that are absolutely going to come be catastrophic.
yeah,
You're not, yeah. Otherwise, if you don't do it, you're fragile. You're fragile. You're going to break um, at the biggest slight. And so the guys in the room, they're blaming women because they don't know themselves. They don't know their history. They don't know how they got to the seat they're sitting in. And so the most available thing to blame is somebody else,
that's good.
And we
right?
do that. We do that by default a lot of times when we don't know, or when we don't want to know or address that mirror. We blame the closest thing in proximity. And so one thing that's been like a recurring thing in the office here is me explaining to people external validation versus internal validation. You have to get to a point where you know who you are, regardless of who's praising you, who's downing you, who's lifting you up, who's tearing you down, or different things like that. Because when you depend on all this external reinforcement or all this external different things like that, at any moment, right, somebody can determine how you feel about yourself. You know what I'm saying? The motto here in the office is, how you see yourself is how the world see you. I say that because how you see yourself is how you act, right? That's how you behave. That's how you
Good.
carry yourself. And you cannot give yourself, like, I guess we talking about self-love tonight, but you cannot give yourself the bare minimum and then expect or blame others when they, you know what I'm saying, don't give you much more than the bare minimum,
So
right?
let me, so
We
let me
do,
ask
we
you.
do it,
Let
we
me
do it a
ask you
lot.
this. Let me ask you this, George, as you while
Yeah,
you're here. So we talk about a lot of times that there is not a lot of safe spaces, right? So I'm not going to say that there aren't any because there are a lot of safe spaces, right?
we talking about for men, we talking about in general, we talking about for men.
Talk about men,
Okay.
right? Like, because sometimes we can generalize, like, yeah, hey, there's no
Yeah.
safe place for men. Well, that's a lie, right? Because I know Involved Dad has one. I know the
Yeah.
work that you do in Minnesota, Scott. Which is very difficult work. Even in that difficult space, that it's a safe space, right?
Yeah.
It's been created for men to grow through whatever they're dealing with. So my question to you first, George, is um, at what point is it a man's responsibility to create his own space, one, and two, when is it his responsibility to say that I am going to become emotionally available, right? To work on
Yeah.
these things so I can express myself and get in touch. Like, is that his responsibility? Um, yeah, I just
I,
park right there.
Yeah, I won't go with a specific age, right? But what I will say is a sure tell sign for you to for a man to get to that point is by number one, looking at his results, right? If you have cycles, patterns, or different types of things across the board with people, with places, your job, your social space, and stuff like that, and your results are consistently not what you desire from life, that tells you right there needs to be a mind shift because those results are a direct result of the way you think, which directly influences how you behave and your actions, which directly influences the results that you have. So I'm saying that to say if all over the place, not unfavorable here, unfavorable there, unfavorable there, that at that point, that's when there has to be some real soul searching and a man to say to himself, okay, obviously the way that I've been thinking, the way that I've been carrying myself, the way that I've been conducting myself, there has to be some error there. And it's at that point. Now that happens for men at different ages. Some it happens early, 22, 23. Not all the time. Some it happens later, 28, 30. Sometimes it happens at 40. You know what I'm saying? But like, it's when he comes to that realization that just about nothing in life is going how I want or how I need it to go. And then that's when you got to stop blaming your parents. That's when you got to stop blaming society. That's when you got to stop blaming your significant other. That's when you got to stop blaming those terribles. And this is the thing, like, I never want to negate or downplay somebody's trauma, right? I never want it happened. You know what I'm saying? It was valid. It hurt. You know what I'm saying? It shifted you. It even in some cases broke you. But like, do we live there? Like you can't, you know what I'm saying? As a man, you cannot live there. Now, I'm not saying that it's gonna be easy. I'm not saying
Help
that
me,
like
help
life
me,
is
help me. I'm gonna push you. So
yeah, go.
help me because you say as a man.
Yep.
What is that? What does that mean? What does that
I'm
mean?
actually when I said it, I cringed inside because I'm like, I guess that kind of goes against what we're saying right now.
But let's be real. But let's speak about
Yeah,
that. Like, so what
yeah.
was that cringing part that you talk about? When you say
So
you felt,
I cringe because that's almost counterproductive to say that because I'm saying if you don't do this, you're not a man. I'm
mm,
implying that if you don't do this, I take mine when I
come
mess
on,
up. I take, you
come on, come on,
know what I'm
man.
saying. But I'm telling you, like immediately after it came out, I'm like, you're doing it. Like you know what I'm saying. But that's a good point, and I'm glad you challenged me because even as men or even as helpers or whatever, we have to be conscious of the language we use,
Come on.
right? Because a lot of this language is conditioned, it's societal norms, and it further pushes exactly what we're talking about.
That's
Further
good.
pushing
That's good.
exactly what we're talking about. And but as you see, like so up to that point, I'm going and I'm flowing. but it comes, and that's something we need to be aware of if it's in there. You know what I'm saying? Even with all the polish and all the education, you know what I'm saying, and all of the, you know what I'm saying, it comes because that's I've heard that said. It's been said to me multiple times. I'm not blaming or justifying or anything like that, but it's in there, and so it will come up. You know what I'm saying? If you're not intentional, if you're not aware, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like I was a little bit aware because I promise you, I cringed when I said, like, why would you say that, George? I said it
That's
to,
good. That's good. That's good. That's
I
good.
said
So
it to
I want
myself,
you
like,
to.
why would you? Yep.
Yeah, I like that. So I want you to finish this off, Scott. Like, because that was great. Because I know I done caught myself doing that, right? Like,
Yep.
I said some really good stuff, and then I throw that one little thing, and I'm like, "Yo, bro, you done."
And what's crazy is that is typically that's the part that people uh launch onto or latch onto. Is you'll say a bunch of good stuff, and then you'll say that one part and be like, "Oh, okay, he just like the rest of them," or he's saying
Yeah,
the same thing
yeah.
everybody else saying, or something like that.
So,
Yep.
so Scott, so how important, like, let's just use that example, like with George, right? Because we still work in progress, right? Here we are three men that I say that are healthy, but we are still acknowledging that we are work in progress, right? So my question to you, Scott, is how important is it for us to be aware? And so it's two parts. How important is it for us to be aware of these things, right? But two, my life is going great. I don't know that I'm really blaming other, like me blaming other people. I really believe it's their fault. I really do believe it's George's fault, right? So how do I even begin to become healthy if what I believe that it's George's fault?
Yeah. So, all right. So when I'm a kid, I'm raised in a violent home. I'm sexually abused for 6 years by a guy. I got raped by another guy. So when I was in sixth grade. So yeah, lots of trauma. I got bullied in middle school. Like the trauma just kept coming, right? I was a victim of all that violence. I had trauma from all that violence. But when I went to therapy in my late 20s, right, my mantra was it stops with me, right? So with the struggle, I could not have done that. I was a victim, but I didn't think like one,
Mm.
right? Like I can't hold this notion that the world is at fault for where I'm at, right? I got to take responsibility so now I'm in therapy, young man in my 20s, tons of trauma. I've dated women, right? But I don't know how to have this partnership. I don't know how to be vulnerable, right? And I'm walking around this lake in Minneapolis. I'm just on a walk, right? Trying to get rid of some of the stress. And I see this man and a woman walk up to each other and they just kiss. And I thought, how do you just do that? How do you just like be vulnerable with each other at the same time?
PDA, what's
Like
that
like
about?
I said, I want that, but I can't do that. So here's the thing, right? I can't do that. I need to learn something different. I need to change something so that I can do what they do because I want that. So, like to your question, Sean, I have to know I'm a work in progress. I live my life like I'm a work in progress. And as long as I do that, I am open to the feedback that says, hey, you just missed something, right? But if I think I've landed, if I think my plane has landed and unboarded and now I'm off on vacation, then I don't hear those things. I don't see those things. And when they come to me, I make it about the source rather than myself,
Yep.
right? And so, if I tell the guys in group all the time, as long as you think that like a victim, that you are a victim, now
Yep.
which is distinguished from being victimized, right? As long as you think like a victim, you cannot change because the world is always at fault and you don't see your own stuff, right?
Blind spot.
You have to be open to your weaknesses, your strengths, and build on both. You live your life like you're a work in progress. And then the stuff never the information never stops, actually.
I love it. So I love it. So to that, so George, so how, given what Scott just said, so how do men in
Yep.
particular, how do men in particular, as they are trying to save their family, especially in this today's climate, right?
Yep.
We have the election coming back up.
Yep.
Um, people are still navigating life after COVID. Um, people um, who used to have this employment working for somebody, now they come out of this, they wanted to launch their business, struggle, like just like uncertainty, right? Like the atmosphere, just a little bit different, right?
Yep.
So my question is, like, the world we live in today, where these men are leading their homes, loving their wives, trying to build up their kids, but struggling personally. Like, how do he navigate, right? Like, unfulfilled dreams,
Yep.
not really satisfied, not satisfied in his current employment place.
Yep.
He tried and it failed, but he still has to show up for his spouse. He still has to show up for, and I'll just say this, like the climate we live in, people are breaking up and splitting up and getting
Yep.
divorced at an alarming rate, right? Like it's easier, you having a lot more people walk away.
Yep.
So how does one keep going, right? But remaining healthy, right? That's the key. I don't want you to just want them to keep going.
Now,
But
I got the answer. Just ready. I'm ready for you.
go ahead, but just to be
Okay.
healthy, still be
Yep.
healthy.
So earlier we had the conversation, and I made the comment: in this life, in this world, in this society, you're going to need other people. I have three best friends. You know this, Sean. You're one of them, Antonio and Josh. Not only are y'all my brothers and y'all my best friends, but y'all are my accountability
I'm
partners,
your best
right?
best friend, though.
Okay, that's fine.
No, no, no. I need validation. I need to
No,
know.
no, no. I'm saying you're yes,
Hey,
y'all
hey,
are
hey,
my
Scott, you see
y'all.
that?
I'm giving you that. I'm giving you, but more so than best friend. I use that term because it's more common. But where I'm going is y'all are also my three accountability partners. Y'all my accountability partners in business. Y'all my accountability partners in relationships. Y'all my accountability partners in George. You understand what I'm saying? Like in all of these different areas that I know that I have things that I need to improve and work on, I can't just look at myself every day and say, okay, George, this is what you're thinking, this is what you do. That doesn't work. It did not work. There was a time of isolation. There was, and you know me, I'm introverted, Sean, right? So I have no problem being by myself. I have no problem being in solitude. I have no problem being in seclusion. But when I did that for an extended period of time, multiple things in my life were not working. You understand what I'm saying? It was not growing. I was not maturing. I was not developing. I was not evolving. I was stuck. I was stagnant, and I was complacent. And so I had to get out of my ego. I had to get out of my feelings. I had to get out of my trauma because the reason I got there is because I had been hurt with a prior group of friends, right? And so I was very, very just kind of standoffish and different things like that. But I had to find other people. And this is how I feel about the three of y'all. And I've never said this publicly, but I ain't got it is what it, I feel like out of the four of y'all, out of the four of us, I'm the weak link. That's what I feel like. I feel like y'all all doing better than me in multiple areas. I'm not saying that like for pity or nothing like that. I'm saying that purposely because you have to get around people that you admire. You have to get around people, you know what I'm saying, that you see a drive or you see even things that you're missing. Not necessarily to imitate or mimic or anything like that, but to get inspiration, to get motivation, to get guidance, and to get direction. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, I have no problem, Shon. You know me. Like, I'll come to you with my deepest, darkest, most vulnerable stuff. These are typically things that I'm struggling with,
That's why I'm
or
his best friend, Scott.
yes, yes. Again, we're gonna. Yeah. but but I do that because I know from experience that when I was on an island alone, I suffered, and suffering for the most part, not all the time, but suffering is optional.
Mm.
Everybody don't like to hear that, but a lot of suffering is self-inflicted and optional because of your choices, because of your decision making, because of your mindset. So I had to surround myself with people who in other areas are progressive, are moving, are committed, are working, are
It's late, but I had to give
ambitious.
it to you.
Yeah, no problem. Who are ambitious, who are driven, and who just have, experience in other areas. Sometimes I come to you and my mind is already made up, or I think my mind is already made up of what I'm gonna do. But I know me, so I know I need to throw it off to somebody and hear another view, and I need to hear another perspective. So to answer your question is, fellas, as much as we're taught to be like this, standalone tree or whatever, you have to get accountability partners. And this is the thing, accountability partners are there to motivate you, they are there to lift you up, they are there to do those things, but they are also there for correction. When, you know what I'm saying? And this is the thing, you have to be able to hear things about yourself occasionally. Now, your accountability partners shouldn't always be on your neck, they shouldn't always be, do this, you're doing this wrong, stuff like that. But in the event that they do, you should be receptive, you should be open, you know what I'm saying? And you should be willing to hear them out, think about and process what they're saying, and if need be, change. You
Yeah.
gotta surround yourself with the right people. There is no, I'm not gonna say there is no, but it isn't only about looking in the mirror and doing what you need to do and making changes, but you need to surround yourself with healthy or people who are in the process and intentionally getting healthy with the right people. That's how. That's
Okay.
how you do it.
So I
Yeah.
like it. So Scott, I want you to close us out with this. Scott Miller is because.
Oh, I'm just going to build on what George just said. Scott Miller is because people were gracious.
Mm,
When I was struggling, when I maybe didn't deserve it, they overlooked and they accepted and they loved.
Yep.
And literally, I would not be here. And the good thing that I was able to do with most of them is go back and intentionally thank each and every one of them for the role they played when I was going through some of the darkest stuff of my life. Um, yeah, I would not be here without other people.
Yep. It's
And,
important.
when you said, Shon, like you still have to show up for your partner, even though all this is struggling. That's where that's the that's where the batteries get recharged for me, right? Like that's not work. This is this is where this is the sanctuary,
that's good.
Yeah.
right? So that I can go back and struggle with the stuff in the outside world. But if I had to work here and work there,
Yeah. The sanctuary. That's good,
Yeah.
Scott.
That is
yeah,
good. It
Yeah.
really is.
That was
Really
good.
is.
No, man, that was good. This was good. I think it's legit that Cole was here. I think it was legit because he missed it. He missed it. He missed it. So
He missed my sweater. That's what he
yeah,
missed. He missed my.
the sweater. Yep. Hey, it's his fault that he missed this good eating tonight.
Sorry for you. Sorry for you, Cole. You
Sorry
did
for
this
you,
to
Cole.
yourself. You did this to
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah. Good luck on that grant, Cole. We got you. We hold it down, man. Hey, listen, man. I think, well, not I think, man. Tonight was good, man. I think that this was a very good conversation. I really appreciate your thoughts, man. I really believe that a lot of people will be impacted by it. Like we said when we first started, man, the conversation is like, women question, like, man, how does men do it? Like, how do they just, navigate so well? Just but I think you guys did an incredible job, in just saying, sharing that. I don't know if we do a really great job, you know, um, because it come out in other areas. So,
Yeah.
you know,
It
um,
always come out. That's what if we gonna leave with anything, fellas, when you hold it in, it's coming out one way or the other. It's going to manifest in your behavior, whether you easily irritated, annoyed, if you're aggressive, like it's going to come out. It doesn't go away. It
it's
just
good.
doesn't go away. It doesn't.
It's good. Yeah. Listen, man. Once again, we'll see you guys next week. Scott, we'll see you next month, man. Listen, every second Thursday, Scott is in the building with us, man. We love
Yeah.
it. Scott, we appreciate you, man. Let's keep doing
Thank
what
you for the time.
yeah, let's get it.